Welcome to Twig, your weekly, geekly, family-friendly news show that tackles everything from the state of the play recap to more unexpected horror adaptations from Blumhouse with some games in between. I am Nerd Pastor Nate. I'm a real-life pastor and pastor of Checkpoint Church, a real-life church designed with nerds, geeks, and gamers in mind on the internet. If you're listening on the podcast version of the show, be sure to give us a good review. Click that like if you're over on YouTube, or come and listen live on Twitch every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to get started tonight with our What You've Been Watching, Playing, and Reading, as we always do. And I am going to invite our guests to introduce themselves and tell us what they have been watching, playing, and reading. Take it away.
Hello, I'm DGC, a fellow member at Checkpoint Church in level 2, and I've been watching quite a bit. We our anime club and some watch parties. Been working on getting through season 1 of Apothecary Diaries. Did a rewatch of ReZero, and watched Prey for the first time, and then did a rewatch for Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, along with some streams and YouTube. As for what I've been playing, I've played, of course, been continuing my playthrough through Metaphor, and played a bit of Mario Kart Deluxe, and continue reading our Loose Axe City.
Nice. Yeah, we're trucking along. I think we're on Luke 15 now, so we are making our way through. It's June. For those of you that don't know, we're reading through the book of Luke and Acts, which are kind of a part 1 and part 2 situation written by the same biblical author, and it goes throughout the entire course of a year. So we are almost exactly halfway there, I suppose. Or maybe we started a little bit late, so we're not quite halfway there. But the actual study we're using is halfway there. We'll just be a couple months into 2026. So fun. That's good stuff. I love Scott Pilgrim. That's always fun. I have not been watching much. I need to catch up on my anime. I am really behind. But I've been playing a lot of narrative heavy games that aren't podcast games or anime watching games. And I've just been kind of behind. So for the most part, I am only watching a Weeby News who's playing the 100 line right now. So I'm watching her Let's Play. And I think that's probably going to be the way that I experience a lot of the 100 line endings is I don't have time to play them myself. So I'm going to watch other people play them. And then Barry is streaming Ace Attorney Investigations, and I am on the finale of that. And I love it. I love it so much. I do not understand the hate of that game. I think it is just fine, and I actually think it's delightful.
I do.
And you hate it, or you think
mainly
it's
just boring. It's mainly just boring. Where it's like cases 1 through 3 are meh, but the 4th case is actually pretty good. I still have yet to finish the thing.
Yeah, I'm into it and I'm enjoying it, and I just love the characters so much. I think they're really fun, and I liked Detective Bad. I still love Detective Bad. I think his reveal when you get to see him is just like, it's so good. So good. Yeah, so I'm enjoying those Let's Plays. I'm playing too many games. I got the Switch 2 today, so some of you that have already been on stream today know that we streamed for 3.5 hours this morning accidentally with the Switch 2, and then also played some Mario Kart World. So I am quite enjoying that game so far. I love Mario Kart. It's one of my favorite games. It is like the only game I've ever been competitive in. It's the one that I super enjoy playing and can put a lot of time into practicing. So I will probably be playing that one in between times whenever I can fit it in, because it's just so fun. And as far as the Switch 2 goes, beyond that, I don't know what else I'll be playing. I looked at the GameCube roster, which is actually going to come up a little bit later, but we'll see. And then Deltarune is, of course, sitting on my 2-play. It'll be the next narrative game that I pick up. But first, I've got to finish Wanderstop, which is our game that is our Button Bash Brigade game this month. And I'm really enjoying it. I think it's a really pleasant experience. And I kind of wish I would have done a pilgrimage of it, because I think that it would have been a perfect one. But it is what it is. Maybe we'll do one, and it'll just be after I finish it. Maybe give it a little gap of time so I can forget some of the elements. But I think it's a perfect game to take a pilgrimage into. It is bizarrely a cozy, emotional game. It kind of does a lot of different things, but I love it. Reading, I am reading The Tears of Things by Richard Rohr. I am reading Super Communicators, Man Made of Smoke, Jujutsu Kaisen, and then that Book of Alchemy book that I've talked about a couple times, which is like the bunch of guided writing exercises. And then our book of the month is Hum, and I have started reading Hum, and I'm super duper into it. I really like the writing style. If you are a fan of like transhumanist exploration in games, whether it be like Detroit Become Human or something along those lines, it's good. It's real good. It's real emotional and brutal, and maybe even needs like a trigger warning for anybody that is triggered by budget concerns and financial concerns in a hard-pressed family, because oh boy, this family is hurting for money, and it comes through, and it is a little triggering there. But it's good nonetheless, and I super enjoyed what I've read of it so far, or listened to. I'm doing an audiobook there, and it's really good. Looking at the chat, we've got Wizened, who is playing Supermarket Simulator 2025, as well as NBA 2K25, and has also mentioned a game, This Space of Mine. I think I have that game. So yeah, I think that'll be a great idea. We gotta do a pilgrimage soon. I'm thinking once we get back from annual conference, maybe we'll do another one. And that's the one. I thought you were saying In This Space of Mind need a short game. I see. Okay. Well, I think This Space of Mind is actually a game. I'm pretty sure that just sounded really familiar. But Detective Duck, we'll see. My thing about Detective Duck is I just think it's a little bit silly. I have no problem with pilgrimages getting a little silly, but I think there still needs to be some like grounding in the journey that you're taking. So we'll see. We shall see as far as what our next one will be. But expect some news coming soon from the pilgrimage world, and ways that you might be able to take a pilgrimage after they've already happened, coming up in the next month or two. We got a lot of exciting stuff going on at Checkpoint, as always. Yeah, that's all I got. If you have any other things that you are watching, playing, or reading in the chat, feel free to drop them and let us know what you're getting into. But we're going to get into our first of our news articles, which is probably going to be the one that's going to take the most time. Hopefully, we will not spend the next like 45 minutes on this. We'll try our best. But that is the Sony State of Play that happened yesterday. It was a good one. There was a lot that was announced. So many things happened. I thought it was a pretty good state of play as far as things are considered, especially for some of the ones that weebs like myself were pretty happy to see. So we can do this however you would like to, DGC. We can talk about some of the games back and forth, just kind of picking ones and maybe deleting them after we do them, so then picking the next ones, whatever that be.
That'll work.
That'll work fine with me. But before we get into games, I'll say we also got some announcements outside of the gaming world. The biggest one being that Sony unveiled Project Defiant, which is a new wireless arcade-style fighting stick designed for the PS5 and PC. Ultra-low latency mechanical button switches, DualSense style touchpad, swappable restrictor gates. I don't know what that one means. Aimed at enhancing the experience of fighting games. It is scheduled for release next year. So I wanted to highlight that was something. We got some hardware announced amongst everything else, and you got to give it up for Sony continuing on with that. That's good. All right, let's go. I'll let you pick our first game for us here, DGC.
All right. Well, one of the games I enjoyed was Pragmata. I honestly forgot about this game, and I didn't even know it was being developed by Capcom.
I knew nothing about that one. I don't know if I'd seen it before or not, but I did not. I didn't remember it at all. It's the one where it's like a doll-like girl that reminds me of BioShock, and then like the dad-like character who is keeping her safe, presumably, right?
Mm-hmm. That's it.
That's that one. Yeah. So apparently it had been announced in 2020, but I don't remember anything about it. It must have been outside of my brain. Yeah, that one is being developed by Capcom, like you said, Pragmata, coming out next year. I think most of them were honestly slated for next year. I will tackle next Silent Hill F. I am not the biggest Silent Hill fan. I'm not opposed, but they're not ones that super grab me. But it is coming out this September, perfectly in time for the spooky season of October. It's going to be a new installment set this time in 1960s Japan. And because of that, they actually tapped the shoulder of a Rinpy artist, Ryokishi07, who is known for When They Cry. So if you've ever read or watched or played or any of the things with the When They Cry series, whether that be Higurashi or whatever it may be, that's the guy. And so pretty big deal that Konami was like, hey, you seem to have a good eye on what makes Japan scary. Would you help us figure out how to do this thing? And there you go. They tapped, in my opinion, the right person. So I'm expecting a very, very scary experience from that one that I will have to probably hear about people playing rather than play for myself.
Another game I was I enjoyed say was the Digimon stories. I'm not a huge Digimon fan, but man, that looked good.
Yeah. I love the Digimon stories. If only they could make good games. That's my biggest problem. If only the games were good, because I sure do love Digimon and I sure do love the stories that they tell, but the games are just always bad. That was the same. It was the same way with Digimon Survive. It was such a so hyped, so possible, such an interesting story, and then they just whiffed. So we'll see if this one's a whiff or not, but it does look good. The Digimon Cyber Sleuth games did pretty well, and I think this is in that same Deutero canon.
It is.
So maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be worth it. My next one will be Suda51 showed up and announced a new game, which is a big surprise. I've played all of the Suda51 games now, and he is just an oddball, unique art style, unconventional storyteller who does things not at all by the books. And he announced a game called Romeo is a Dead Man, in which Romeo is a dead man. He is very much dying and gets this special mechanical suit where half of his body can be kept alive a la Cyborg. And then he becomes a sort of noir detective through space who goes and solves mysteries. I don't know what it's going to be about. It was funny that of all the things that Zuda51 could have thought to have said during his little 15-second window, he was like, not only can you slash a sword, you can shoot a gun. And I was like, that's what you're going to tell us about this game? That's all we're going to get to know, is that you can not only slash swords, but shoot guns. So it's from Grasshopper Manufacturer, and Suda51 being the director and headliner. And I will probably give it a shot just because I think a modern Suda51 game sounds pretty great.
Nice. All right. Next one is this one I was excited to see, but my disappointment kind of brought it down a bit, and that is Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster.
Mm-hmm.
Now, while I am excited for this, because mind you, this was my very first experience with Final. This was my first
Oh, really?
exposure to this Final Fantasy was through Tactics. However, uh, apparently it seems like the music is not orchestrated, which that is a bit an issue. I mean, it still sounds good, but that was an issue I had back. Like a lot of people had back, like before we got the 11S for Dragon Quest. Like a lot of people that had issues with the fact that it wasn't orchestrated. So
Yeah. I
maybe.
tell you, in exchange for that, I'm thrilled that they're doing full voice acting. I
Oh
think
yeah,
that's,
absolutely.
for me, that's more important. As much as I do love a good soundtrack, like with a Final Fantasy game where there's just going to be so many words, having them acted and acted well, which I'm sure Squeenix will do, delights me.
No doubts.
Yes, and that is September 30th of this year. So we got a pretty stacked September, at least from Sony in particular. One that I'm particularly excited for. I'm a big James Bond fan, and so we got a look at 007 First Light coming from IO Interactive. Of course, the developer behind Hitman. So a perfect developer for this. I'm super excited to see what they do. This is going to be an origin story this time for James Bond, focusing on his early days in the Royal Navy before becoming the iconic spy that we know him as. So that means we'll get to meet a lot of characters for the first time. I thought the trailer looked interesting and exciting, and I will definitely be playing it, and I'll be curious to see what they do. I like that they're taking an original slant, because I find that a lot of the 007 games heretofore have been just kind of retellings of the movies, and that's okay, but I want a new experience, and I think they're going to do a great job with that.
Oh, no doubts. I definitely see that it's going to be pretty good. And I didn't even know it was going to be a prequel.
Yeah, I had no
Like
idea,
it was going to be an origin story.
but I think it's a good call.
Mhm.
All right, what's your next one?
Okay, next one is uh, uh Hirogami. It's a this was actually pretty interesting. Like seeing them take like that origami style and turn it into like a platformer.
Mm-hmm.
It was really neat.
Yeah, this was the one where they, to get from point A to point B, could like morph themselves into a different origami shape, and that would allow them to navigate the platforming with each of different abilities.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I liked that. Looked like a
It
fun
kind of
little
gave me a
shtick.
bit. Mhm. It kind of gave me a bit of Paper Mario vibes with it.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
a more polished 3D maybe versus the 2D, you know, cutesy art style. And you'll never believe it, September 3rd. Once again, another September
Well,
game. I'm telling
dang.
you, they are stacking up our September here at Sony. Um, let's see, which one will I choose next? One that nobody really expected was, I actually don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm gonna wing it, and that is Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. This is a new Marvel 4v4 tag team fighting game with the Marvel characters that we know and love. But the real shock here is that it is not being just made by Bandai Namco or something along those lines. This is being made by Arxis, which is Arc System Works, the same people behind Guilty Gear. So I'm not a big fighting person. I don't get into the fighting games too seriously, but I know Guilty Gear and I know how polished and impressive and dynamic and like wild and all over the place those games are. And so I think this is really fun and will be a really interesting thing to see. Maybe the fighting scene get a little breath of fresh air, other than SF6 that we got like last year. But now we're going to get a new Marvel fighting game that will freshen the scene a little bit. And it's more Arxis. So I think everybody's going to appreciate Guilty Gear taking a stab at something maybe a little bit less weird.
True. All right. Uh, next one I'm I was excited to see was more news on the new Ninja Gaiden, both for
Mm-hmm.
2D and the uh for the 3D one.
Yeah, dual protagonists from rival clans forced to combine their skills against a demon uprising. And finally one that's not coming out in September. That's a July 31st. So we're broadening out a little bit into the summer with some of these. Let's see. Next up, I will do Bloodstained: The Scarlet Engagement. So I didn't know anything about this game. I have never heard of Bloodstained: Ritual of the Night, but it is a game by Artplay that I think came out either last year or the year prior, and it is a Metroidvania type game that I really want to play. I did not know that this was a thing, and it looks gorgeous. It is a kind of mixture of Dead Souls and Castlevania in the sense that you've got the like Castlevania vibes, almost like Dark Souls vibes. But then you've got it in very much like the Dead Cells, fast moving, kind of cell shaded mechanics. So I am on board with this, and I will have to go play its prequel before I get into this sequel that looks even more gorgeous than the other trailer for the games that I've already seen.
Yes. And funny you say that it feels Castlevania like because the Bloodstained series was supposed is a spiritual successor to Castlevania.
Yeah, it definitely comes through. It is very apparent, the inspiration.
Right. Next one I want to talk about. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I think it's called Karen.
Yeah, Karen.
I yes, I really like the vibe of this. It
Mm-hmm.
definitely made me think of Celeste in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it reminds me of that game that came out last year or the year before called Jusant that came to the Game Pass only. there for a while, and I played the first couple hours of it, and I wish I would have kept going with it because it was this kind of Zen vibe survival climbing experience that's kind of become really popular. This would be one that I actually think would make a pretty good pilgrimage as well. Slow, contemplative, lots of pauses and time for thinking. I'll be interested to see where the narrative goes with this one because I think that'll be what ultimately makes or breaks it for me. And that's November 5th of this year. So we got a game not coming out in September. Another one that's not. My next one will be Everybody's Golf. This is a series that I've not gotten into, but I know that people love. And Everybody's Golf Hot Shots is coming out in September 5th. A new game by Clap Hands. This is a pretty popular golfing series at this point. And this one is going to expand the character roster even further, as well as adding different regions, up to 10 now. And if you pre-order this game, you will get Pac-Man as an unlockable character. So if you want to golf as Pac-Man, now is your time.
Me, uh, another one that I was excited to see was the new trailer for Metal Gear Solid Delta.
Oh, yeah.
Very excited. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one's not even on my
Yeah.
list here, but that is indeed what we did get another little look and a deeper look at the Ape Escape part, which made me pretty happy. Always enjoy seeing that. We also got a look at FBC Firebreak from Remedy, June 17th, 2025.
Yes.
A cooperative FPS set in this pure natural world of Control.
Mm-hmm. Very excited for that.
Jam Gamer indeed. Always glad to see more Metal Gear. I've seen, speaking of Barry, I mentioned that I was watching his Let's Play earlier, but that is, it seems like he might be working on another Metal Gear video, which brings me a lot of delight because as somebody that did not grow up with Metal Gear, it is hilarious to have him just word vomit the lore. Because there is so much. There's simply so much lore. And to understand it,
Yeah.
you really need like a dumbed down, explain it to me like I'm five story.
Right. Uh, the last one, Ghost of Yote. Some new trailer for that. And apparently we're going to be getting some more info on it in July.
Yes, yep. And then we got I have two more here. Well, technically three more if you count Astrobot that also got some new planets announced. 5 new
Oh,
challenge
right.
levels that are going to be added later on in the month, bringing the total up to 90 different planets. And you may think of that with Ghost of Yote. So that is something that we'll be getting the main character from that in this one. So that's exciting. And then the other two that I have here are Sea of Remnants from NetEase, a pirate RPG that takes players on a journey through treacherous seas and mysterious islands. It kind of looked like Sea of Thieves if it were, you know, not what it is. I don't like Sea of Thieves, man. I can't get into it. I want to, but I've never
I
enjoyed it.
know.
I've tried so many times with so many different people. It's just a slog. So maybe this one won't be. Maybe it'll be better. And then the other one that I have there is Tides of Tomorrow, a multiplayer game where players' choices impact the narrative and world around them. This is made by, gosh, who's it made by? It's made by Digix Art, but I don't remember that being the name. But it's the people that made the Road 96 series. So this is another look at the kind of consequences, choices that we make, kind of adding things up. And so I don't know how it's going to work in a multiplayer vibe, but I think it's going to be kind of a thing where if one person takes an item, then another person can't at another point in the story or whatever. So it's going to be that kind of vibe to it. But I'll be very interested to see. They've made 2 games that are really narrative heavy. They've also made one game that was a critical success and one that was a critical flop. So there's no telling what this one will turn out to be, but I'm excited for more from them. And that's coming out next February, unless it gets delayed. So. And that's all I've got. Any of them that you think you're the most excited for? Did you see one that stands out above the rest?
Ooh, that's easy. I know it'd be first, of course, Silent Hill F. Man, that's oh, I I enjoyed the Silent Hill series. It's it's definitely a great horror series, and I'm not exactly too much into horror stuff like that. But
Yeah.
but it focuses more on like the psychological.
It's pretty creepy. Yeah, but
Hmm.
it is.
And
It's
then,
good stuff. It's good stuff.
mhm. And then another is Marvel Token. I enjoy. I'm I'm also a casual uh, when it comes to fighting games, but I do enjoy Arc System Works and their games.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see they're entering into a more mainline, mainstream kind of vibe. I'm excited. Yeah, I think I'm
Yeah.
probably the most excited for probably Romeo is a Dead Man. I think I don't know. I like Suda so much, and I'm curious to see. I don't know. Even liking Suda is a weird thing to say because it's like I am disturbed by Suda 51, but I am also fascinated by the games that he makes, and so I will be playing that one without a doubt. And it looks like a really fun kind of fast paced vibe that should be a good time. Probably not one for stream, that's for sure. It looks exceptionally gory, but
No. No.
yeah, that kind of goes without saying for a Suda 51 experience. Okay, well, that's it. Well, let us know, folks, what you might be interested in from the state of play, if any of those games stood out to you. This is a big week of gaming. We've got so much left at the Summer Game Fest. We have the actual Summer Game Fest event tomorrow. We have Day of the Devs. We have all sorts of things coming up on the schedule ahead. So a lot of things are going to be announced. The Xbox Game Showcase, wholesome games, women-led games. Like we got a busy week. So I'm sure that next week's
Mhm.
Twig, maybe honestly, we will just not do any articles or main segment and just go through all the stuff that happened because there's a lot of it. Um, but we're going to get into some of our other news stories for the night. The first one of which being Multiversus. This is the 2024 Warner Brothers crossover brawler. I think it's kind of funny calling it a 2024 Warner Brothers crossover brawler because it came out many times. But it is officially shut down as of May 30th, marking the end of a brief but passionate chapter in platform fighter history. Despite an 8 out of 10 review and a strong early following, the game struggled financially, contributing to a $100 million write-down for Warner Brothers Discovery and the eventual closure of its developer Player First Games. Fans took to forums to share memories, praising the game's innovative 2v2 mechanics, fast-paced action, and heartfelt voice performances from beloved characters. Many expressed hope for a sequel, though rights issues make a revival unlikely. The emotional responses highlight how even short-lived games can leave a lasting impact when they foster community and joy. I'm happy that this game reached a community. I have never seen anyone playing it ever. I'm just going to be so real. I have not seen TikTok clips. I have not seen highlight reels. I have never seen anyone actually playing this game. I'm sure it had its audience, but it must have just been really microscopic in the world of games such as Smash. Like I don't know how they could have ever competed, and that was the problem.
Yeah. I actually have seen people play this, and kind of disappointed the way it went, because this game really did have potential of being something good.
Yeah, my 2 cents as a backseat, or armchair expert was, I think that this game absolutely flopped when it came to advertising, because they
Hmm.
had they have Ultra Instinct Shaggy on their cover poster, right? Like they have Shaggy holding a batarang, they have Batman holding, I don't remember what he's holding, like a Scooby Snack or something, and they have Shaggy with his like hair starting to raise, going Ultra Instinct, which is a meme, and so they know what memes are. They could have leaned into the meme, and they just never did. Like we should have seen them more than we ever saw Duolingo. You know what I mean? Like their marketing
Hmm.
manager just totally flubbed a really rife for potential with familiar characters kind of game. And maybe there's a chance of like they couldn't have done that because every time they might have posted it, they might have had to pay for a license. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe this game was just too licensed to make it in that kind of memedom. But this could have been so much more prevalent in people's like psyche. And it wasn't in the zeitgeist. It didn't exist. It wasn't out there enough to the point that it was a known entity. So that's kind of where I land on it. I wish it had a better chance. I also think it was really weird when they disappeared for like 9 months. Um, for those of you that don't remember, they just pulled access. They just did. They just pulled access for like over half a year and then just gave it back. And so it was a really strange choice, and some really weird moves that they made. And I think it was probably money troubles that led to most of the issues. But yeah, it is a bummer to see it going away. It's always a bummer to see a game ending, and especially to see the closure of a studio. But at least, like the article points towards, there was some joy, there was some optimism, and some goodness that was shared amongst the people that did enjoy the game while it was there. The friends we made along the way, that kind of stuff. All right,
Yes.
next up, we've got a little look at Phasmophobia. Kinetic Games' indie horror hit is set to become a movie, with Blumhouse, known now for Five Nights at Freddy's and The Conjuring, teaming up with Atomic Monster for the adaptation. Details on the cast and crew are still under wraps. The game, which launched in 2020 and sold over 23 million copies, redefined co-op ghost hunting and inspired a new subgenre. Director Daniel Knight called the film deal an incredible new chapter for the studio. As the game evolves with its upcoming Chronicle update, this move marks a significant growth milestone. Blumhouse's past game-to-film work has been hit or miss, so fans are hopeful this adaptation captures what made the game so uniquely eerie and engaging. Yeah. Did you play this game, DGC?
No, I've heard of it, but I've never played it. I
Yeah, I
have no
wish
idea
Pineapple Poke
what.
was here. That was somebody that played a lot of it. I will say I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic. I think that a ghost kind of haunting film could be made. I think it could be really fun. And I like the vibes of it. And I think that it has led to more memery at this point. I think what'll make or break it will be how seriously they take it. If they're going to take it serious, take it real serious, like A24 serious. If they're not going to take it serious, then have a lot of fun with it, like Five Night did. But I think that's going to be hard because I think Five Nights at Freddy's is already funny, you know? Whereas I don't think of Phasmophobia's lore as being funny. I think about streamers who made it funny. Whereas Five Nights is just absurd. It's just ridiculous. And so, getting Matthew Lillard on board was going to make it a fun time no matter what. Whereas Phasmo, I don't know. Very curious to see what they do with it. Any other thoughts on that one from you there, DGC?
Nope.
None there. All right. Well, that is all good. We're going to move now into our first ad read of the night. So, hey, nerds, pause the potion crafting and lean in for 1 second. Our next DLC or Difficult Life conversation is going to be dropping this Sunday, June 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern. This one's leveling up IRL, justice, and reconciliation. We're teaming up with Reconciling Ministries Network, a United Methodist crew championing full LGBTQIA plus inclusion. Think of them as the party healers, keeping the whole guild alive. We're going to unpack why affirmation matters, tackle the toughest questions you've been side questing around, and chart practical steps for building churches as welcoming as your favorite cozy MMO hub. Seats are going to be over on Discord, so hit the link in the Discord space. You can go ! Discord or down in the description down below, and be sure to RSVP. Let us know that you are going to be there. Bring your curiosity and your compassion. This is going to be Checkpoint Church's DLC because real life deserves patch notes too. See you there. Cool. All right, that's our first ad. Hope that y'all are able to join us on Sunday night. We're going to get into our first we're going to get into our first post. We've got so many segments now that I don't know what to say. I can't say first, last, second, third, or any of those. We're going to talk about How's Humble Bundle, which is this one actually. So I subscribe to Humble Bundle. I love Humble. I think it's cool to talk about the games that they release in their Humble Choice package. This month had a couple of really good ones in there. And so I'll talk about some of them that I might have been curious about. We've got Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun, Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 1 and 2, Nobody Wants to Die, Dungeons of Hinterberg, Chia, Skur Ritual, Biped, and Haven Dock. Of these games, if you have not played Dungeons of Hinterberg at this point, maybe you missed it on Game Pass, I highly recommend it. It was a lot of fun. If you like Legend of Zelda type dungeons, it was a good time of that, and it was a good indie game to play. If you missed out on Chia, then you really missed out on a delight. I will say it was a perfect game to play on the PlayStation 5, but regardless, wherever you might play it, will be a good experience. This is a story of you playing as Chia, exploring in New Caledonia, I believe is the region that you were in, and just exploring a really interesting world with some really interesting powers involving animals. Kind of felt like Beast Boy at times. it's a good game, really good time, and good work by an indie studio. I'm pretty curious about Biped. That looks like an interesting one to me. And then I always love my cozy sims, so I'm going to be checking out Haven Doc. Those will be a couple that are highlighting for me. And then Legacy of Kain is one that I've had recommended to me a lot, so I will check those out, although I don't know much about them to offer. Any of these stand out to you, DGC?
Uh, really, because I don't really use Humble Bundle.
Yeah, that's totally okay. I wasn't sure if any of the games actually stood out, but that's just fine if they do not. Let me see. Okay. I'm going to make sure I had the right things in the right order. All right, so that is our Humble Bundle. Let me know if you check out any of those. This is just kind of an interesting little segment to throw in there here and again. Now we're going to do one that I particularly enjoy called RNGesus Delivers. So I follow a lot of social media accounts. I watch a lot of videos. I scroll the interwebs frequently looking for good things, bad things, things in between. And whenever I find something that is good, I want to share it with you all. And so that is RNGesus Delivers, when the randomly generated feeds of algorithms that I scroll through deliver me something delightful. So I'm going to share it with you all now. A look at just a quick little TikTok that I saw the other day of someone named Poppy the Weatherman, who I thought had a great message for us nerds in particular. And I don't know if you're able to listen to it or not, did you see? So I'm sorry if you cannot hear it, but here we go.
I'm really dorky. I like Dungeons and Dragons. I write fantasy and science fiction books for a living. I'm always playing video games. You know what? I really like it. I really wouldn't change me. And you shouldn't change you either.
There we go. I just wanted to offer that as a bit of encouragement. I thought it was cool to see a nerd who makes games, tells stories, does all the things that they want to do, and doesn't want to change that about themselves. And I just love to see that message being shared on the internet. The more that we can tell people that they should embrace who they are, embrace the things that make them them, their nerdiness, their geekiness, their passions, their habits, their things that they really enjoy bringing out in creativity. I want to encourage that, not shame that. And so wanted to welcome that into our message for this time. And I will say, DGC, if you are able, you might want to listen to this next segment unless you've just already listened, but I'm going to be showing the video from the Holy Post podcast. I've cut it up a bit, but be reacting to each little individual segment that we've got. So each of those parts is a segment in and of itself.
Okay.
So if you have headphones or something, or can plug up the stream, whatever might work. But we've got an exciting main segment for everybody tonight that we're looking forward to talking about. This is one that stopped me in my tracks, and I immediately had to talk about it. We're going to be talking to the Holy Post podcast. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Holy Post podcast or not. This is a mainstream kind of Christian podcasting audience led by Phil Vischer. So if you like VeggieTales, then you know who Phil Vischer is, one of the co-creators of VeggieTales. And he has a podcast along with some other wonderful thinkers and Christian theologians and experts in the field. And they tackle pop culture news and different things going on throughout the world each week. And I enjoy their podcast a whole lot. But this week, whenever I was listening to their podcast, they had a mailbag question come in particular, that Phil had picked regarding if a Christian can make video games, if a Christian can work particularly with mainstream corporations that make video games without feeling like they're selling out to the kingdom. And so we're going to hit start on the conversation with that. But before we do, I'm going to name the elephant in the room here. They actually name it. I don't think I grab it in the clip, but I'm going to name the elephant in the room that these three, so it's Sky, Caitlin, and Phil, they are not gamers. And it comes through in their responses. You're going to pick up really quickly. Our audience of Checkpoint is going to pick up really quickly. They're not gamers, and that's okay. They don't have to be gamers, but their answers are going to be very clear that they have not really witnessed what we have witnessed as Checkpoint as the incredible power of gaming. And so my gentle offer to the Holy Post, if this gets to their ears, is I would love to come to talk to you about the power of gaming. I am a pastor who talks about video games, pop culture, anime, and all sorts of these things in nerdy sermons each and every week, and has built a community around the thing. So if you want to know the power of gaming beyond just kind of the myopic view of the outside culture on it, I would love to talk about it with you. But we're going to get started with their first little bit of the argument of why that is or is not okay. So enjoy this first clip, and we'll come back and react to it whenever it's time to pause.
There's been a lot of good conversation about how the church should be thinking about technology, but I haven't heard a lot of thoughts about how we should be thinking about video games. I enjoy making video games, but I'm still trying to think through what it means to follow Jesus as a game developer. I think there's a sort of a Hippocratic oath that we can take where we say, above all else, do no harm. So do I think... can a Christian work on video games? Sure. Secular video games? Sure. Should a Christian work on Grand Theft Auto?
I have thoughts.
Promote in any way, shape, or form New Kingdom dynamics.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Kind of what I would say.
Okay.
And you say, well, does it have to promote New Kingdom? It should not promote the opposite.
Yeah.
Do no harm.
Yes.
Yeah.
It should not.
Yeah.
It should not portray evil as good,
Yes.
or good as evil.
Amen.
So if you're at a gaming company that makes money promoting good as evil, I would have a hard time staying there.
All right, there's our first clip. We'll see if I'm able to turn this off and it starts back there. I was at like 1 minute and 10 seconds. Does
There's
it
been
do
a lot
it?
of good conversation.
No. Oh, great. Okay, so we'll remember 1 minute and 10 seconds. So they mentioned a little bit there about Grand Theft Auto, which is an interesting pick to be their first pick. But I do want to note a couple things. That first, I think that they are right to name that portraying evil as good is a bit of a red flag. It should be something that we note. It should be something that we are aware of. But I would argue that is in fact not the red flag that we think it to be, but instead it is a red flag that we should be aware of discerning. It is something that we should immediately say, oh, there's a moment here. I need to be aware that this person is not a good person. And the same case happens whenever we are reading books. We read books and we're not supposed to always like the characters. I was listening recently to an English teacher talking about teaching Animal Farm, and whenever he asked his students to create propaganda posters portraying, the characters as heroes, they had the easiest time portraying the evil character as a hero in Animal Farm because it's a dynamic person, because it is a nuanced person. And in the same way that we allow books to do that, we should be allowing that to happen in video games. That is what makes them art. These are stories that are being told. And so what really matters to us is when we are creating these games, when we are interacting with these games, when we are discerning these games, how are we allowing truth to be told about the world? Because the world is not always a good place. It is sometimes a dark and dreary place. But we are called to be Resurrection Easter people, to be something more. We have hope that redeems these things. And so whenever we see evil being portrayed as good, we're not actually seeing the argument that evil is good. We're seeing that evil people sometimes get away with things. And that's important for us. I will pull out The Last of Us as being a great example of characters who are not good people. None of them really are good people, but at the same time, the nuance that they bring to the screen allows for the experience to be one worth discerning. And so I think that the developer or the person that's working QA at Naughty Dog and working on The Last of Us that is a Christian shouldn't feel conflicted about portraying evil as good. They should feel elated about the fact that they're getting to represent through a modern parable that will be experienced by millions of people how revenge is not something to live by, which is a biblical truth. So that's where I stand. Any of those ring a bell for you, DGC? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, whenever I go through stories, I look at it as like when we go through, and we should not go as like mindless consumers. And so I try to see like see if there's anything that like has those types of like it's like you can usually find like certain.
Are you still there?
Oh, Yeah, I'm still here. Uh,
Okay, you're fine. I didn't want to interrupt you if you were still going. You'd let me know.
no, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think that's a good point. I think especially your point at the beginning there about not being mindless consumers. That's what I call towards often is the reality of discernment and utilizing the gift of discerning. That we should treat that as a holy skill that we have as human beings to sit in these things, to sit in these stories, and to hear them and to wrestle with them. And I see that as being of value for the Christian. So we're going to try to pick up where we left off. I'm going to go fast forward a little bit to 1 minute and 10 seconds.
There's been a lot of good conversation.
Role play kind of story based gaming stuff can get dark pretty quick.
It
It
can't.
doesn't have to.
Doesn't have
But
to,
it doesn't
right,
have to.
right.
It's. Are you doing Lord of the Rings dark, where it's redemptive dark?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
You know, where the protagonist is rewarded for, or at least is not rewarded for vice.
Right.
If you're rewarding vice, then I'm not sure I would feel good about participating in that, even if. You know, that doesn't mean you can't portray a broken
Yeah,
world.
but I
Right, right.
rejoiced when I would shoot a red turtle shell at somebody on Mario Kart and watch him spin out. That was fun.
That's cartoon
There's
violence.
not blood.
There's no glory in blood.
Yeah.
There was glory.
There is glory, but not in
glory
blood.
and
It's just
gore.
okay.
knocking
All right.
someone out of the race with your red turtle shell.
Okay, so I want to say two things there, and the first one is that I love that point by Sky. I don't think that he even necessarily realizes just how true that is, but that's a bit of an ironic twist there of the red shell in Mario Kart and the joy that we get through competition and through the harm that we cause to others is an innocent here, but it can turn into a toxic aspect of gaming. We also have innocent examples of cartoon violence happening. I would argue League is cartoon violence. And I think that there is no more toxic game than League also. And so this is one of the vices of a video games. It can be in our competitive nature and in our willingness to not offer grace to other people in the midst of gaming. And so the ironic twist here, I think, is that they actually made a really good point that they're kind of brushing aside because it's not gory, which doesn't bother me personally. But because it's not gory, that means that it's innocent. But instead, that shouldn't justify innocence, but instead it should be what we bring to the table in the midst of those things that is important. And so I wanted to name that. And then the other point I've lost, but I wish I still had it because it was a really good one. I remember. So at the beginning, they say, what about Lord of the Rings, where there's a redemptive story happening in darkness? And that is the whole thing that I'm arguing. I think we, as the ones interpreting the art, have the power, the supernatural power of redemption in the stories that we are experiencing. And so we can seek out in the stories that we're experiencing, where is redemption happening? Who is the redemptive character here? Most games, not all, most games are probably going to take a twist towards some Tolkien-esque redemption. They probably are going to take a turn towards that, whatever term that he coined, the eucatastrophe. It probably is going to take a turn towards eucatastrophe. And that's the whole point of most games, is this hero's journey towards redemption. But that doesn't mean that we can't have the journey that gets us there. It's just as important.
Yes. Of course,
Anything-
that journey will be different for people, and depending on like which game it is.
Yeah. And who they relate to and what character they grasp onto. I think that's the gift of an RPG, is that there's a lot of characters that you can graft onto. I think that's one of the biggest pros in my Claire Obscure column is, man, these characters are so well crafted that different people are going to get really different experiences out of this game and which character speaks to them. And again, talk about redemptive and not redemptive. And that's the perfect game of an example of like, you don't even need, I don't think, maybe there's blood and viscera on their faces all the time. So there obviously is blood in that game, but yeah, it is interesting. I think that's one of the games of the year that tells a really powerful redemptive story in a nuanced way. And so that's why I say it's clear they're not gamers. And I mean that with grace and peace, that I think that it comes across really clearly that they're dancing around a reality that we as gamers know, but they simply can't be privy to in the spaces that they're in. Okay, let's get into the next one. Next little clip. Oh, come on.
Play this game
Here we go.
with Jesus.
That's a good question. Would Jesus leave a banana peel for someone to step on? Because I'm torn. I kind of think maybe yes, maybe no.
Game, it's fun.
Yeah.
Nobody does it do harm. And making someone spin out in their little car because you hit them with a red.
But the argument,
turtle
I'm not disagreeing with you, Phil. But the argument would be, well, if I'm murdering people in a video game, that's not actually harming anybody.
And some people have tried to argue that violent video games get that out of us, so we don't do it in the real world.
I'm not buying that.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, another really important point there being made. I think that is one where I kind of agree with both sides. I do think that there is a really good question to be asked of what games are we comfortable playing with Jesus? And where do we set our boundaries? And that's often where I land with folks when they come into our Discord server and they say, well, can I watch this anime? Can I experience this game? My answer is usually that requires discernment to decide if you would be comfortable with Jesus watching this game with you or playing this game with you. I know they're asking it tongue in cheek, right? I get the joke, but it actually is a really good frame of reference to think, I think Jesus would really enjoy Claire Obscure. I think he'd really enjoy The Last of Us. I think there would be a heartbreaking kind of reality. And if we think about the parables that Jesus might have told, they're not always hunky-dory. And so I think this is a reality that Jesus told hard stories. Jesus wept, right? Jesus sat and mourned Lazarus. We have a Jesus who feels things. And so we shouldn't be afraid of games that make us feel things and ask hard questions for that exact reason. But causing harm to each other, again, sometimes it might be more innocent than others. I don't think that it's a good excuse to say that it's a stress reliever to go and kill people. I think that's not a good reading of mental health in gaming. Where I see the scene of mental health in gaming is more like go play Stardew and meet with your therapist while you're playing in their farm, right? Like that's where I see mental health happening in the gaming world. It's not go grind, punch a hole in the wall, and take down your buddies in Call of Duty. Maybe that's my misreading of gaming, but I feel like I'm pretty in it, and I don't see that argument happening anywhere.
Nice.
Any extra thoughts from you here, DGC?
Yeah, I get it. There's just some things people aren't comfortable with, and so you just need to be careful about that.
Yep, it's awareness. It's the work of awareness. It's the work of discernment and knowing where your boundaries lie. And I think Jesus is a great framework for that. Knowing where your boundaries lie with what you would feel comfortable with in your faith experiencing, I think that's a perfectly reasonable response. I think it was not too long ago that we had somebody hop into the Discord server and they were like, my buddy's going to tear you apart with playing Cult of the Lamb. He was like, my buddy totally disagrees with Cult of the Lamb. And I'm going to invite him in here and he's just going to rip you to pieces. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, let him come on. I'm fine. I don't mind backing up Cult of the Lamb. I'm good. And so the guy came in and was like, here are my reasons for not playing it. And I was like, those are great reasons for not playing it. And I'm glad you aren't. And that was the end of the discussion. Like there was no argument that needed to happen because this person had done the work of discernment and setting up those boundaries for themselves. And who am I to say that their boundaries are wrong because they've done the work? of considering what works for them and what doesn't work for them. What I think isn't right is for us to just brush it off and to say, oh, well, nothing that is like this game can ever be good because of the fact that it's uncomfortable for my boundaries. That's where it becomes problematic, is where we force someone else's boundaries on other people, when instead it's the work of ministers to help guide the path and to encourage discernment and discovery, which is what I hope that I do. Okay, let's continue on with the next chunk.
It sounds like what you're saying is, if you are in a storytelling vocation, whether that's making films, writing books, novels, telling video game stories, if you're in a storytelling vocation, are the stories you're telling consistent with the world that God is creating or wants to create here, or is it deforming the world?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. If at all possible, avoid deforming the world with your work. And that's, I think, any kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, another really good point that I think is worth noting is that, what does it mean to deform the world? This is one that I think gave me the most pause of any of their arguments. I don't know if I've thought this one through to the end of what makes sense, but I don't agree with it at its outset. I don't think that we should be afraid of material that deforms the world around us, because I think that what is more deformative than the work of redemption? We have to deform what has happened, right? We had to do a lot of deforming. Things were deformed, and so whenever we play out those things and play with them in a fictional setting, in a fictive setting, I think that's helpful rather than controversial. But again, that may just be a personal difference or even a verbal difference of what we mean when we're talking about deforming the world. But for me, this goes actually really well with the Cult of the Lamb argument, because I think we really have to be careful about giving narratives and stories too much power. Cult of the Lamb is fine. It is not coming after Christianity. It's not even really making a mockery of Christianity. It was telling a story that it wanted to tell of a cult leader who was being manipulated by a godlike deity. It wasn't about Christianity, even if people wanted to force it to be one. And so instead, what it wound up becoming was a warning tale about cult dynamics, which I think Christians could afford to know. I think we should know about when we're being conned, about when we're being tricked into something that isn't of our faith, but is instead of a false doctrine. So I saw it as a value. But then there was somebody else who came into our Discord server, like I mentioned, who saw it as a deformation of their own faith, something that would be harmful to their own faith. And so that's fair, but I don't think that we should outright rule out the possibility of a game that explores this for the people that might really need the help exploring it, or might just be curious about how to explore it in a safe, creative way. So, yeah, a shorter one because I don't really have it thought through all the way. But can you think of anything else there, DGC?
Mainly just in this instance, like there are the instances where it help you be able to have those better understandings. Yeah.
Yeah.
There might be something like you just never mind.
Okay, you're good. All right, let's continue on. I think this next section is really helpful and kind of shifts the conversation in a really important way. So we're going to keep on keeping on here.
I think specifically with video games, there's not just questions to ask about the content. There's also questions to ask about the experience people have and whether it puts any friction in their ability to just do it forever. I'm serious.
Are you talking about game or addiction?
Yes. I am more worried about how people, and I don't play video games, so it's like very unfair of me to wag a finger, but
Very.
I do worry
Probably
not just
hypocritical, in fact.
I do worry not just about the content, but about how it forms people.
Really, really valuable and important point there about the way that games form us and the things they form in us. I really have nothing to add here other than to be more specific and to say, like, the reality of the gaming world, this is our biggest concern. This is what we're fighting for. Like, we're fighting for more accessible games. We're fighting for games to respect our time, to respect our sleep schedules, to respect our wallets. We're fighting against loot boxes. We're fighting against games that are creeping after children's attention. Like, that's what we're doing. We're working on these kind of predatory economics, and not only predatory economics, but predatory time economics. The way that they take over our lives, or they become just ill-befitting our own like souls. And so I think this is the best point that they make about gaming, and they're about to make the point actually even better. So before we get into that, was there anything you wanted to add to that specific tangent?
But no, not really.
Yeah.
We pretty much got it.
I think that one was pretty spot on, and I really appreciate it. Although I think they're still a little bit off the mark with talking about just addiction, because I don't think it's so much the addictive side of the thing as much as it is, just like with social media, it is the overlord mechanics of, like, literally they are scientifically learning how to best corrupt our brains. And so I think it's more about the predation than it is about our own addiction. So of course we should work on what we can, but for us, it's more trying to grassroots change the whole thing. Okay, let's continue on.
And I would have questions about how much the game requires some kind of community, even if it's not in person.
Yeah.
Like, if it's just you by yourself and there's no friction, and so you could do it forever.
Like Candy Crush.
Yes. Well,
I
it's
think
like
Angry
this
Birds is satanic.
I think it's I think it's Andy Crouch that has this thing where he's like, in some way you could make a comparison between video games and like games you play in real life. But if you're playing soccer outside with your friends, there is the friction of, like, at some point physically you run out of energy and you can't do it anymore.
Okay. Another really valuable point, and I mentioned Andy Crouch, who is somebody that I disagree with on most things technology, but an important point of how are we forming community? How are we arranging and experiencing solo experiences in ways that are meaningful in the work that we do with other people? But I would also say that the games are doing a really good job here. I think you don't have to look too hard to see that games that promote community are extremely successful, and especially those that do it well. I think we've had a kind of standout year or past 2 years of that, right? Where we had Helldivers 2 that really showed the robustness of community gaming and our willingness to enjoy one another's company in that way. You look at Stardew, which has continued to be a reality. You look at MMOs, right? In general, these are games that draw together people from across the world, sometimes leading to IRL or in-game IRL weddings. So I think that some people through games, I know Derek White, the Geek Preacher, who has done IRL weddings through people that found each other, right? Through D&D, through tabletop, through games. And they fell in love over it. And so whether it's virtual or across a table, I think that games themselves are a great arbiter of community. And I think that the friction that they're talking about has less to do with doing things in community and more to do with just doing things intentionally. And so, look, this is why Checkpoint exists, is because I saw the loneliness in gamers, because I saw that the church was an avenue that should have been providing for gamers and was failing. And I stepped in and said, we need to have a community that is church for gamers. That needs to exist. We need to be reaching. And so this is what we're doing. And we're doing it through games. Form community around gaming for these people that truly care about these things and that it means something to them. There is a reason, right, that Comic-Con is as well attended as Joel Osteen's church. It is because of the fact that they are doing it without us because we won't do it for them. Welcome in, Marlena. You've missed the first half of the rant, but we've still got a little bit left going on. Anything else, DGC?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I like gaming is because of that community. I mean, you have stuff like MMOs, for instance.
Right. Yeah. And we think about watching games. I know you're an avid stream watcher and LP watcher and loving those kind of things. And so that is community. Whether we want to define it that way or not, it is. It is where I find community. It's where I plug in and feel seen and known for who I am, is because I plug into those spaces.
Mm-hmm. And there are some instances where those led me to to Discord,
right,
and let me be able to find new friends, be able to make those meaningful connections.
Wonderful. Now we'll get into some more pragmatic stuff. They take a shift of the conversation once again, and I think we're probably pretty well aligned here, but we'll see based off of what they say.
If you're a game designer,
Yeah.
you actually have some ability to speak into that.
That's what I'm saying. You should.
Most of the people who work at game companies have no ability to speak.
Yeah, they're not designing the games.
Run a resistance. Do something.
You can
I don't
advocate.
know.
Yeah, and that's the question. Do you advocate for something better from within an organization? Like if you work at Disney and they want you to do marketing on a movie that you really don't like, do you refuse to do the marketing and now you don't work at Disney anymore because like this guy's really difficult? Or are you a voice of, can we present this in a way that's, or can I migrate over to these films over here?
So another really good argument there, and I think that you simply cannot stomach from within a corporation, then sure, we should be rallying and trying to do what we can from the inside spaces. And I think it does go further than game devs. I think this is why it's so important for us to speak out to gamers, is because we are louder together and we have made a difference together. We have news sources. We have whole, journalist packs. Like we have people that are making a difference within the gaming world through accessibility and through protesting for more support for game developers who are losing their jobs. And so we have all of this capacity, but it only happens, we only get that capacity if we're there. And so if we just brush it aside and brush aside the important work of exploring games, caring about games, loving the games that we that our people are experiencing, then we're missing the forest for the trees. And so the only way that we can hope for games to become more socially acceptable, if that's really what we want, is for us to be in those places and to support the people that are in those places. And the way that we do that is we support the bottom line. Who is giving these game companies money? It is the gamers. It is the people that are advertising and helping their C-suite see that it's working. So being in the spaces and doing what we can to promote the things that we like is going to lead towards a better culture all around.
Yep. Voting with your wallet.
Voting with your wallet, exactly. And just being present, just being there. I just don't find it helpful to just not be there. There's a place for protest. There's a place for leaving. But I don't think that it's in just dropping, leaving at the drop of a hat is what I'm trying to get at. Okay. Let's continue on because they're going to talk a little bit more about this as they dive in deeper.
All else do no harm. And
don't fry your brain.
If you're a designer, there are a lot of games secular games that actually have new creation dynamics in them, where you're building, where you're creating, where you're growing, where you're nurturing, not just where you're constantly destroying as a form of pleasure.
Can a Christian work at a casino in Vegas?
But I do think most Americans do not ask at all the question, am I participating in something that harms other people? Well, we just kind of go, that's not my job to care about.
Someone asked these questions of us recently in a political discussion, but we are all participating in systems that are dehumanizing and ungodly. The question is how intimately connected are we to the outcome of that?
Okay. So an important thing that I want to say here is that I agree I think that there is a really valid point here, especially about us as American people in the kind of, capitalist corporate world, the brain space that we have here. Like, yes, we do not think about this enough. We do not consider enough how we are participating in that culture, how we are participating in it. But here is again the big point: is I think that the irony for me is that the way that this is actually happening and shifting and explored is through art. The way that we tell these powerful, deep, evocative stories is through an expose written by somebody who's pouring their heart into something. It's by a documentary like The Remarkable Life of Ibelin, of somebody who needed to have their story told that would have been ignored and has been ignored by too many people. I keep recommending it, but I want more people to watch it. But it is a story that needed to be heard. And so the way that we explore this corporate system, the way that we explore our willingness to lean into capitalism without batting an eye, is by creating this art. And some of the art, I'm sorry, Phil, it's going to be destructive, because if you want to analyze destruction, then somebody's got to be doing the destruction. And it's better to be doing it in a fictive setting where at the very least, it's not actually harming people, but instead it's seeing examples of fictional harm that we can learn from. An example I'll offer up is Papers, Please. If you want to talk about the problem with immigration and the heart that we have removed from our immigration process of not thinking about the fact that these are real life people in these stories, that is the deeper meaning of a game like that, right? Is that we are forgetting who is human. A game like Orwell, in which we literally get to play as the overlord digital person, arranging this society of people, judging them from the outside, changing, shifting, turning them to simple clicks on a screen. That is an important story that needs to be told. And I know that what Phil is talking about is not these two games, because people don't know these games. People that are outside of the scene are totally unaware of what the real gaming environment is like. It's not Call of Duty. That is no doubt a huge gaming franchise, a huge entity. But even games that look like Call of Duty, even games that might appear like Call of Duty to my parents, games like The Last of Us, or games that tell deeper stories through violent settings, are still telling an overarching narrative that digs into something deeper. And to be frank, even Call of Duty, some of the games, some of the stories, some of the narratives dive deep into political intrigue like any other movie and book would. If you I talked about James Bond and how much I love James Bond. James Bond is absolutely blaring misogynist, right? Like, this is a character that we shouldn't idolize. But because we idolize him, we get to explore our own misogyny, our own hypermasculinity, and what that does to human beings. So it is through the art that this actually happens. That's what I think is so ironic about this pushback, because of the more extreme things. And I think this is what we see over and over and over again by people that have a microphone, that have a platform, that simply only see video games for one game at a time, instead of for the work that is being done in so many games out there. Okay, I'll end that rant right there. DGC, would you have anything you want to add before I really read Marlena's comment there?
It's okay. And yeah, I mean, that's what I like about games, is because of those, how thought-provoking and deep these are, especially given like the many things, I mean, things you can find within them. And even though there are certain things that can be uncomfortable, they you can really get a lot from them. It can help change you.
Exactly. And I think that's a part of the gaming experience that I think we overlook when we're too outside of the scene. And so that's why I started this whole conversation with acknowledging the elephant in the room, that these are not gamers. And that's okay. They don't have to be gamers, but just being aware of the reality that these are out there, and that I'm willing to talk about them and would love to come and talk about them. Marlena says, I do find it odd when we want to critique violence in society, that it's done in wanting to fix it in a fictional space rather than fixing violence in actual life. totally. And this is like a major argument in so many books and so many movies, and things that have been controversial in the past, right? Like Clockwork Orange style controversial, and the glamorization of violence is something that has been explored. But for some reason, when we explore it in games, people attribute it to some kind of negative conspiracy out of the satanic panic of the 80s and 90s. And we are still paying for it, even in a space that is really pretty willing to be open to curiosity, like the Holy Post has fallen into that same familiar trap here. Okay, we'll wrap up their conversation with this last little 30-second clip, and then we'll wrap up our conversation with some ideas.
I think I've talked on the show before about the short film, The Ordinance, about a bunch of churches that advocated to put restrictions on payday loan places in Texas.
Yeah.
And part of the conversation that happened there was that there were people in these churches that owned payday loan places. And their pastors felt like it was pretty important to actually say, like, we don't think you should.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean there's a clear line between the safe jobs and the not safe jobs, but I just appreciate that someone at some point asks, like, is this good for your soul? And is it good for other people?
Perfect. Caitlin, I think I have been the most aligned with from beginning to end. That is exactly the right question to be asking. Are the churches, are there church leaders, are there people in the space who are asking the question, is this good for our soul and the souls of others? That is the failure that Checkpoint is calling out. That is what we are doing. That is what we have hoped to have been done. We are addressing the things that are going on. I mentioned earlier, right? We are tackling accessibility. We are tackling violence in these stories and explaining how it relates to our faith. We watched a film, like this past nerdy sermon was on Sinners, which is a film that is gory. It is violent. It is, visceral. And yet we explained how it related to a Bible story that we've probably never heard before. I would wager that most folks have not heard of Simon the Sorcerer. But we talked about Simon the Sorcerer. We talked about this desire of power and how we wield it. Do we exploit it? We talked about this whole dynamic and entered into a conversation about exploitation and blaxploitation and like the way that we steal things and culturally appropriate them. Like that is because a church leader, this guy right here, is sitting in these nerdy spaces. Now, granted, I talked about a movie there. I wish I could have thought of a game off the top of my head, but I mean, we do. We talk about The Last of Us. We talk about things like that. And so we sit with these games that make us uncomfortable for the whole purpose of being there. That is what we're doing. And I think that is so crucial in these spaces is how are we building community for nerds, geeks, and gamers, for people that play video games, for people that consume art, so that the church can be in the conversation rather than on the outside of the conversation, pointing in and saying, you're all bad. That's not helpful. And so I think that is, I think we agree for the most part. And so I know a lot of this rant may seem like I'm going against what they're saying, but I really think that we agree for the most part. It's just how we get there. That is just a place of them being outside of this space and not aware that this is happening and in really important ways. And I do love that as well, Marlene. I really liked the ordinance recommendation. I've added it to my list. Any thoughts there, DGC, before we get into some takeaways?
Yeah, whenever we change it, even if there's like stuff that is uncomfortable with us, there are those redemption qualities that can be found within.
Yes, exactly. And so as we leave this conversation, I want us to consider what we can take away from it, what we can think through with it. As players, as people that experience games, which is what most of Checkpoint is, curate your community that plays games, play games with others, play games with people of faith so that you can explore your faith. and allow that to be the process of curation. Ask those questions, discern through those things, experience those things, do research, have conversations so that the art might be able to speak to you. Like any other art interpretation that we do, if you're just going and looking at something and saying, don't like it, you're not doing the hard work. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't set boundaries where you know you need to have them, but at the very least, we should be willing to encounter art in order to interpret it. If you are a game developer, if you're in that space, then we as the church should be in your corner. We should be backing you up and doing what we can to say that you matter in that space, that you deserve a place of worth, you deserve protections, you deserve whatever we can provide on our end of things, and that we have your back in the face of ethical concerns. And in the back of things like that. But odds are they're probably not. They shouldn't be grounded in the actual thing that makes it a work of art, because the stories that we tell are not inherently problematic. The art that we explore is not inherently problematic, but instead it is worthy of exploration. It is worthy of exploration because of the fact that, again, as I've said over and over, as an extension of our Imago Dei, being made in the image of God, God is a creator, made us to be creatives. When we create, we are an echo of the Imago Dei. Art is an echo of God's art. And so we should create it and explore it for the purpose of the fact that we were made to do this. And it's vital for our structure. Any takeaways that you have for this conversation that you wanted to leave with anybody listening?
Not really. I think you pretty much got it.
I think that's good. I think that's great. And I think this conversation has gone on pretty long, longer than I expected, but it's a good one. And it's a great conversation to have. And I'm glad that the Holy Post brought it up at all. I think they could have just steered away since this was like a mailbag question, but I think that having this conversation allows me to respond and make people aware of the fact that this conversation is happening. And so if you're watching this, let me know if you've ever played a video game that has surprised you with its redemptive story. Let's prove to the doubters out there that this is happening, that the reality is here is that the games that we play, the games that are being made are full of redemption power. Even games that have elements of destruction, that have elements that may come across as harm, but aren't actually harm being done, but rather just evil being explored in a safe environment. What has impacted you? What has affected you? Let us know down in the comments down below. I'll be looking for them, and I look forward to seeing them. And thank you for watching to the end of this main segment. God loves you. We love you. You matter. Bye-bye. Okay. Whew. That was a long one. DGC.
Yes.
But we're here. We're here, and we're going to get right into everybody's favorite time of the show, which is, of course, Cryptic Critiques. We got Cryptic Critiques. Are you prepared for Cryptic Critiques? This is everyone's favorite game, the game show of bad reviews for beloved games. I have scoured the internet to find 3 of the funniest bad reviews I could for popular games. I will deliver them one at a time to our special guest of the week. Play along with us. See if you can figure it out before we get to clue number 3. If you're watching live, remember, do not send your guess until the guest gets to give their final choice at the end of the 3rd prompt. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. First prompt of this game is, it's just Revenge of the Sith. Any guesses off that one alone?
No.
All right. It's just Revenge of the Sith. Second one is, I don't like this game, but it's got my 2 GOAT characters from this franchise. I had to play through this stupid story 3 times. A lot of hints in that one.
Wait. Oh, I think I might know what it is, but
Let's see if the 3rd prompt cements it. I got a PSP for this game and didn't finish it, LOL.
Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep.
It is indeed Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. I have never played this game. I never played any of the non-mainline series games. So I had no idea with any of these prompts that I was reading. But is it just Revenge of the Sith?
That last one, honestly.
Is that an
I
accurate
mean,
review? Is it just that story?
a little kind of, but yeah, what gave it away was that third one because
Right.
that actually was what got me to get a PSP. Was worth my sleep.
It's so funny. People do not like this game. People were very unhappy in the
I
in the
don't get
reviews.
why.
I tell you, it was not hard to find bad reviews for this one. I will tell you that much, and it was hilarious. Folks pushing back on it constantly. I guess I'll have to experience at some point. I know that I think I know the story of it from Barry once again, who did this is basically Kingdom Hearts kind of video where he just broke down all of them, and I don't remember. I think it had a lot to do with Aqua. I'm pretty sure Aqua was really prevalent in this game. Maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, he might have been referring to uh Primary Passage because that game basically uh focuses around her
Interesting. I have
after the
no idea.
events of her.
No idea, but chats in the clap. You got it. You absolutely nailed it. Appreciate you playing along, and we always love to see a dub. We're going to get into our second ad read. We have 2 ad reads tonight. The second one is, hey, Checkpoint fam, are you ready to level up your community XP? This June, we've got a triple threat of nerdy goodness happening all inside of our Discord. First off, we have an anime club, which is jetting off with Pokemon Horizons. New region, new trainers, same electric feels. Also, our book club is buzzing through Hum by Helen Phillips, a mind-bending novel where family life meets uncanny tech. And then our video game club, the Button Bash Brigade, is settling into Wanderstop, a cozy narrative game that asks, what if taking a break was the real adventure along the way? Jump in, pick your lane, conquer all 3, and share hot takes, memes, existential questions in our various threads. Grab the invite link down in the show notes or in the description, hop into Discord, and let us geek out together. See you in the clubs. Okay. I think we are, at long last, at our second to last segment of the show, which is, of course, hang on, do I have it? Here it is. All right, our upcoming releases. This is the part of the show where DGC and I have 3 things that we're excited about coming out in the next week or so. And I think I start with my first one. It might be you. It is you. Start with your first one here, DGC.
Thank you. My first one is, of course, Deltarune. I am very excited to experience chapter 3 and 4.
Yeah,
See
I'm
what
pretty amped.
all entails there.
I'm pretty excited. I do wish it had been 3, 4, and 5. I'm ready to be, low-key, I'm ready to be done. I mean that with grace and
luckily,
peace and kindness. I'm ready to be done.
Well, luckily, whenever chapter 5 does drop, it will be a free update.
Right. Yeah, I'm thankful that I haven't had to pay for each of these chapters separately. That's never been Toby's way. He's always been very, very generous. But I want these games to be done well. I want each chapter to get the time that it deserves. And I certainly would not have wanted to wait this long between Undertale and Deltarune. So I get it. I understand. But oh boy, I just want to be done. I just want to be on the other side of this one. As much as I've enjoyed it, it has certainly been interesting. Like, I'm going to have to go play chapters 1 and 2 again because I don't remember them. I simply do not. I remember parts of them, but I do not remember them well enough. So I'm going to have to start from the very beginning, which is fine, but it's just a lot. Whenever I got so many games to play, I got to start back at the very, very beginning. Alas, my first one I've already mentioned tonight is Mario Kart World. I'm going to be playing a lot of this game. I love Mario Kart. I'm excited. I got a lot of characters, a lot of stickers, a lot of costumes, a lot of things to have been getting. So I'm already enjoying it, and I am eagerly anticipating having lots of time to play it, of which I don't know when that time will ever be here. What you going to do?
All
right. What's your second one here? Oh, it's not that.
Second one.
I don't know why that's coming up.
Weird. My second one is Yakuza 0 Director's Cut, which, along with Deltarune, will be dropping today. And I'm very happy to know that this is only just a time exclusive and it will come to other platforms later on down the line.
I cannot imagine Yakuza 0 being any longer. And I mean that with grace and peace as well. But that game was so long. It just kept going. I want to love these games so badly. And I have tried. over and over and over again. And they're just such long games. I can't imagine Director's Cut. I can't imagine more material and even longer experience. But it is there for exactly the people it is for, and people love this franchise. So no harm, no foul here. All right,
Okay.
go ahead.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Okay, into my next one, which is the Welcome Tour. We did do about a half an hour of the Welcome Tour on our stream this afternoon. I'm excited for this. I know that it's been a bit of a hot topic issue since it's a $10 game on top of the thing, and it's just exploring the system. But I will say, just from the little bit that I played today, it's worth $10. And it's not 1-2 Switch, which was $50 and really not worth it. Like 1-2 Switch was not worth the hype. This one has already been fun. I've already enjoyed it. I've learned things. I've enjoyed the way that it kind of takes advantage of the console. Do I wish it was free like Astrobot Adventures or whatever the first one was? Sure, but it's not, and I can't do anything about that. But I think $10 is a fair enough price. Honestly, I think it could probably be a little bit more, to be blunt. But considering that Astrobot was free, $10 totally fair. I think Astrobot demo game or whatever it was could have been $10 easily, if not $25. It was a pretty hefty game. So yeah, I'm enjoying it and looking forward to exploring all of the various elements of my Nintendo Switch 2 in that one. So
Okay. My last one is Summer Games Fest, which will be starting tomorrow.
I'm looking forward to it. And we're going to be streaming it. So for those of you that don't know, we'll be streaming tomorrow night, 5 o'clock, probably 4:30, with Humar Wit Ill, streaming through Summer Game Fest. We are officially co-streamers. For those of you that don't know, we applied and got approved to be co-streamers. So we will be co-streaming that event, and I am looking forward to seeing all of the good announcements and the fun and what tennis shoes Jeff Keighley is wearing that night. All right, and my final one here is the Nintendo GameCube is coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. I was a little bit disappointed to see it was only 3 games today. I'm sure we already knew that, but I was low-key, high-key really hoping Path of Radiance was going to be on here day one. So I really want to play that game. That is one of the very few Fire Emblems that I've never played. So I was super hoping to get to play that. But I'm certain we'll get more titles. They've done good with NSO over the past years to add plenty of titles. So I am convinced we will get more games. And these 5 are not even on their launch day. So I don't know when they'll be there, but I'm excited for them. I've actually never played XD either, so I'm curious about that one. I enjoyed Pokemon.
That's so good.
So I'm down. All right. That completes it. Those are our 3 things. Do let us know if you're in the chat and you have anything that you would like to share that is coming out in the next week that you are hyped about. But those are just a couple of our exciting things. With that, we're going to get into our final segment of the show at long last, which is, of course, That's right. It's time for Meme of the Week this week. I think Lizzie's down there. Don't listen, Lizzie. It is, again, my meme this week. This one in particular is a calendar schedule from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., prepping for a call at 11 a.m., taking the call at 12 p.m., recovering from that call onward for the rest of the afternoon. For introverts like me, big mood. Big mood. And we had lots of my fellow introverts on our Discord server agreeing. Yeah. So love that meme. Enjoy it quite a bit. I saw one person in the comments that was like, heaven forbid, like if the person doesn't answer the call, because then the calendar becomes 2 days of recovering from making that call and then also rescheduling the call, which takes forever because now you got to try and reschedule it again. And we have to emotionally gird ourselves to do that all over again. So yeah, it's quite a bit. That introvert be introverting. Okay. Well, this has been a long one, but it's been a good show. And we're going to wrap it up with a quick shout out here from DGC. What you got to tell us about?
We have our upcoming DLC this Sunday, which I'm looking forward to.
Yes, I am looking forward to it as well. Looking forward to the conversation. I always enjoy our DLCs in general. 2 hours with Communion at the center, and we'll be talking to the Reconciling Ministries Network, particularly Nick as a representative there, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for being on the show. DGC, appreciate you. Holding out for the full hour and 40-minute experience that is Twig. We're going to wrap it up there. This has been Twig, your weekly Geekly Family Friendly news show delivered live on twitch.tv/Checkpoint Church each and every week, keeping your family connected to the world of nerdy news. If you watched this far, you probably enjoyed this one. So remember to give us a 5-star on your podcast app. Click that like button. Recommend the show to all of your favorite nerds. We're going to give a quick thank you to our paying subscribers over on Twitch and YouTube. Everybody that is a part of the show that shares it, we appreciate. But of course, we want to give a special shout out to those that also throw some dollar bills our way. So thank you over on Twitch to Maybe 30 Bats, Mindful Marlena, Teeny Chrissy P, Little Miss Lizzie, Joanna the Scribbler, Coyote42, Gobi Church, Buish Perspective, Zando Calrissian, Yakeem 4752, Resident Catholic 2192, Sneaky Pig 633, Trombone Dalek, and H-Man. Over on YouTube, thank you to Leanne, and then both YouTube and Twitch to Twyla and Nerd Pastor Nate. With that, is there going to be Twig next week? Yeah, there should be Twig next week. I have a feeling we will be doing a big deep dive into the Summer Games Fest festivities, all the things that were announced at all of the different places, of which there were so many. So it may be the sole focus of next week's show so that we don't go for another hour and 40 minutes. But it's a big week, and I hope you're going to join us for some of it, if not all of it, over on our Discord server, which is the best place to be, of course. With that, we're going to wrap this one up with our 3 things that we believe to be true about every single one of you out there. Whether you believe in God, don't believe in God, go to church, don't go to church, hate God, hate church, no matter what, we still believe these 2 things to be true about you. Number 1, that God loves you, like really, really loves you. Number 2, we love you, want community with you. That's what we're doing here. Number 3, that you, yes, you matter. You're a person of sacred worth. The world's a better place. Why? Because you are in it. Folks, with that, until the next time that we see you, be well. Bye-bye.